Hey moms, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about our final topic in the consolation topics from Mom Madness, and that is money. So, money is one of those topics that people don't really like to talk about a lot, but I feel like with motherhood, it's kind of a big topic. First of all, everything costs money. Second of all, everything costs money. um, there are so many different roads to take talking about this topic. So we're just going to hit on a couple of different ones and try not to go too in depth because there are, again, so many. Um, One of the roads that we can take is talking about the cost of getting pregnant. If you're able to just get pregnant, then you probably just paid for a pregnancy test, and that's awesome, and some prenatal vitamins. So, that's not too bad. Maybe 50 bucks, right? If you decided to do ovulation testing to, decide when the right time was, or temping, then you have the cost of ovulation test and thermometers or apps or whatever you do to go that route. So maybe still under $100 though, right? Um, and then you kind of move into the realm of infertility. Did you have to see a specialist? Did you have to have diagnostic testing done? Did you go through multiple months of treatment? Did you get to go Clomid first, which is actually a trifecta of pills. It's not just one pill, because there's steps that make things happen so that you can different things happen to get to the Clomid point. And then what if you went through 6 months of that and it didn't work, so you had to stop and then try it again, or went to IVF or those kind of treatments? You're going from possibly the cost of a pregnancy test to the cost of months of IVF treatments, or trying to find an egg donor, and having to buy eggs or sperm or any of that. Or what if you went through all of that and then went to adoption? That's a whole nother that's a whole nother league of expenses and cost, and it is a lot of money, but worth it? Absolutely. So there's just this array of costs to even get to the point of being a mom. And then if you have multiple children and you go through this multiple times, that just adds up more and more and more. And um, I know people who have spent thousands of dollars. And on Instagram, we have some amazing um, IVF and infertility warriors out there that we follow and talk to. And some of them are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars just to have one baby. So there is a huge cost that can be associated with getting pregnant or not. And it's all up in the air, and it's all circumstance, isn't it? So that's one road. Then another road is when you are pregnant. You have the positive test, you're pregnant, and then you start going to the doctor. Um, Most insurances, you do not pay for prenatal visits. It's kind of like it's a well check for your child and for you. So most insurance, you're not going to have to pay for that, which is great, but you have to pay for the insurance. And some people have copays. I had to see a specialist almost my entire pregnancy. Strike that. My entire pregnancy, except for the first two appointments. So that was at 6 weeks and 9 weeks. But then the rest of my pregnancy, I saw my regular doctor and the specialist every month. So I only had to pay for this copay for the specialist though, so that worked out. But then you have people who don't have insurance, and those visits can be very costly, especially if you have to see a specialist. My specialist was only $50 because we had great insurance, but I don't even remember how much it would have cost if I had to pay out of pocket, because I saw those bills and there was definitely some zeros behind them. So there's the cost of that. There's the cost of, do you want multiple sonograms? Because usually there's only like 3 sonograms that are included in prenatal care during a healthy, normal pregnancy. But then what if you have complications during your pregnancy? What if you end up having to go more often? Or you develop some kind of disorder, preeclampsia, or which happened to me, but that was at the very end. I had 1 week of actual preeclampsia before Aria was born because it just didn't happen to me until the end. But then what if you have gestational diabetes? I mean, that comes with medication that you have to take. I have a friend who's pregnant right now, and she has to get extra shots right now because she has a different blood type than her husband, and they don't know the baby's blood type yet. So she has to get injections to make sure that her body doesn't try to reject the baby because they probably, possibly have a different blood type. So there's all kinds of costs that happen with that, and DNA testing, right, to see if you are a carrier for all of these genetic anomalies. That's an additional cost most of the time. At first, ours wasn't going to be covered, and that was a couple grand, and then our insurance ended up paying for most of it. But what if your insurance doesn't, and you want to get that testing done? So that's another road of expenses. And then when it's time to have your baby, that's that's an even more maddening. Like, it costs a lot of money to have a baby in a hospital. But for me, I wouldn't want to have a baby anywhere else. I think and if you go to even like a water birthing center or a birthing center, anywhere other than a hospital that's like you're going to them, you're still paying to be there and to use the equipment and the time for the doulas and the midwives. Probably not going to be as much as a hospital, but there's that. Um, and that varies greatly. I've discovered that varies. The cost of a C-section varies. I can tell you, having a C-section, the bill for my doctor alone, which she's amazing and it's her specialty, and she's treated me my entire time since I found out that I had PCOS, and she's the one that helped get us pregnant, and she delivered our baby. Her bill was $14,000 to deliver our baby. That's a lot of money. And we're very fortunate to have insurance when she was born. But the hospital stay on its own, that's like 30 grand. And we were there for 4 days. That's a big bill. And we were very lucky that, again, we had good insurance, so it paid for a majority of it. We were only responsible for like a $2,000 copay for the hospital bill. And that's a lot of money. And what if your insurance doesn't pay for all of that? Or your insurance, you need to stay an additional day, but your insurance is like, nope, you get 2 days, that's it, and you're out. But you're still paying for a big bill, and you could have just stayed another day. And what difference would that really have made? So that's another thing. But then when we get into diapers or formula, or if you have a child who has special needs, there are so many costs associated with getting pregnant, being pregnant, having a baby, raising a baby. And it can either be maddening or it can be okay. And I feel like there's nowhere really in between. What I do feel like is that diapers don't necessarily cost that much money. I do remember people saying, "Oh, diapers gonna cost a lot of money," and they're like, "You're gonna be paying so like it's gonna be the bulk of your expenses." I don't feel like diapers are that expensive. Um, Not that we just have an open budget to spend on diapers. That is certainly not the case. Because when Aria was born, after my 12-week short-term disability, uh, that's what my maternity leave was called, I quit my job. So we've been one income since Aria was 3 months old, just my husband's income. And so there is not a lot of wiggle room in our income. And so we're very choosy about what we buy, what we spend money on. Necessities, roof, food, diapers. We were very fortunate to be able to breastfeed the whole time. So we did not have the cost of formula, but that's a whole nother expense in itself. And I will say I did get those coupons for a Similac, and I definitely gave them to friends who needed them. Um, because I bought formula for friends who had babies who did formula, and I would buy the containers of formula with these coupons and send it to them or take it to them or whatever, because formula is expensive. I feel like formula is more expensive than diapers for sure. That is a huge expense if you have to go the route of formula feeding. But I mean, that's not even like to talk about the road of after infancy when they start school and they start playing sports or do dance or decide they want to play a musical instrument or are involved in church and want to go on trips and want to do all of these things or get a learner's permit and need a car and want to go to college one day, and there just keeps going on and on and on, and then they want to get married. Weddings are expensive. We were very lucky with our wedding, but weddings can be very expensive. College can be very expensive. There's no guarantee that our babies right now in the year 2020, there's no guarantee that there's going to be a Hope Scholarship for them when they graduate high school in 2038, or I guess for Aria it will be 2036. There's no guarantee that there's still even going to be a Hope Scholarship around. When I graduated in 2007, Hope Scholarship gave you a full ride. If you had the right GPA, you didn't pay to go to school, at least for the first semester, and then you had to continue to earn it while you're in college. And that's also a Georgia thing. I don't know what it's like in other states. Um, I guess down in Florida, I have a niece and nephew that are in college. Oh, my nephew graduated already, but Florida has a thing where you pay some money and then the state gives you money. I don't know a lot of details about it, but that's not every state does not have that for people who want to go to college. We're very fortunate here in Georgia that we have the lottery that funds the Hope Scholarship and the Hope Grant. But there's no guarantee that anybody's going to have it because that money may not be there. Or right now, 13 years after I've graduated, the benefits are not the same. It does not pay 100% of anything. It only pays, if it pays for your classes, it's only going to give you a percentage for your books. Like, and it doesn't pay for housing. And then it's like tiers of your GPA and you get less and less money in your scholarship. So money is maddening. Bills are maddening to begin with, and being an adult and having to pay them. But then you add your cost of things that your children are going to do or the cost of having your children. Finances are super maddening, and I need a sip of my beer. Hold on. I hate talking about money because it's like there's nothing we can really do about it. I mean, there are so many parents that work multiple jobs to put food on the table, to buy diapers for their children and formula for their babies, right? I think financial situation is sometimes something that we take for granted. We are not, um, my family is not anywhere near like the top of any kind of financial anything. We definitely live, excuse me, we definitely live paycheck to paycheck. And I do not regret quitting my job. I get asked that a lot. I don't regret quitting my job because it would have we would have had no financial gain from me going to work. And that's nothing against the company that I worked for. I loved my job and I loved my team and my coworkers. I really truly did. But they could not pay me enough to put my child through daycare and pay for health insurance and then be able to bring money home. So for us, it was a difficult decision, but it had to be made. It was either go to work and all I'm getting is less time with my child and healthcare, but nothing else. I'm paying somebody else to take care of my child and not bringing any money home for anything else. Or we make a tighter budget and make it work with one income and I stay home and take care of my daughter. That's what we did. I quit my job because financially it made more sense to let that money go because it wasn't going to benefit us in any other way. And that seems crazy, doesn't it? Which brings us to childcare. That's something I didn't talk about yet. Do you know how expensive childcare is? It's really expensive. It's so expensive. And I worked at a university that had a great school, preschool on site. But because I was a contractor, I couldn't put my child in that preschool, which meant finding one near our home, which is far more expensive than where I worked. Because that's another thing, there's nothing consistent about the cost of daycare. Back where I'm from, I mean, I remember having friends who have children in daycare, and man, they pay a third to a quarter of the cost of what they want us to pay in the big city where we live now in Atlanta. And it's different where Angel lives, which is like, I don't know, 15 miles away. Different cost there than there is here where we live, which is where her office is over near where we live. So it's crazy how different areas can feel like they are able to charge you more money. Just because we live in this part of town doesn't mean that we make the same amount of money as people who live down the street in like mansions. We live in an apartment, okay? So it's just crazy and super maddening. Super maddening that money in general. And I feel like there are definitely things that take advantage of parents and parents' money because they are necessities. They're necessities. There are parents that have no choice but to use daycare, and there's nothing wrong with daycare and preschool, by the way. I definitely plan to do preschool um, when she's like 3 so that we can get ready for school. But that's preschool's a different cost than daycare. You know, preschool is a couple of hours to a possible, not even quite a school day long. It's a couple of hours versus 8 to 10 hours in daycare. which is why they charge you more money, I'm sure. But still, it is crazy the amount of money that people charge you for things. Like, you would think that it is a necessity. We're going to give you a break. Definitely not. And that's unfortunate and sad and maddening. And there's so many other things we could talk about that involve money, but that would be a much longer video than I think YouTube would let us post. But if you want to talk about money, if you want to talk about other things, if you think this is something you want to dive further into, maybe we can do something on Instagram. So make sure that you like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon so you can see more videos like this and others that we post, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Momestly, and let us know what you think. Do you like this? Do you like these topics that we're talking about? Do you want us to dive deeper into these topics? Comment, let us know. Send us a private message if you don't want your comment to be public. And yeah, I don't want to say we like talking about these things because these are hard things to talk about, but we like getting information to you all and to get a conversation going between other moms and other parents and finding common ground and building our village up, because these are things that we all deal with on different levels and it's important. So, hope you liked this, and we will see you next time. Bye, moms.